Justin Timberlake has sold his entire catalog, 200 songs, for $100 million. I've seen a lot of people congratulating him. I've seen a lot of people saying, wow, this is so impressive. Wow. And I am here like, wow, that is the biggest mistake that any iconic musician could do. Now, on this channel, I talk a lot about the business of entertainment, the business and crafts of entertainment. If you're new here, my name is Kenim. And let's talk about this big epic fail. If he sold his catalog for $100 million, what do you think it's worth? Now, don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. $100 million is a lot of money by any stretch of the imagination. It's like, for one person, that's insane money. It's a ridiculous amount of money. You know, for him, he can pass on money to his children. It's an insane amount of money. It's even legacy money if you spin it right. But the strategy isn't legacy strategy. You know, the most important thing when it comes to building wealth, when it comes to legacy, is ownership. You know, everybody is moving towards ownership. The Rihannas, the Kanyes, the Jay-Z's, and here Justin Timberlake is. Now, don't get it twisted. I understand, and we all understand the convenience of getting $100 million. It's a great retirement fund. He seems to have been a retired musician. This is a man that has been slaving away in the music industry since he was a child. You know, he was in the Mickey Mouse Club with Britney and Christina Aguilera and Ryan Gosling. Is it Ryan Gosling? Let me Google that quickly. Not important though. But hold on, yeah, it is Ryan Gosling. Yes. So he was in the Mickey Mouse Club, all of them. So he's been hustling. We know, when he joined NSYNC, we know that his manager exploited the hell out of them. Apparently he was paying them pennies, and he put himself as the second, he was a member of NSYNC, and because he was a member of NSYNC, legally, he kind of got I don't know, he was older than them, he exploited them, so he probably didn't get too much money from NSYNC, is what I'm trying to say. He probably didn't get a crazy amount of money from NSYNC, but when he went solo, he was making a lot of money, we presume. But you never know in the music industry, because even though they tell us on Google that they're worth $200 million, or they try and frame it like they're worth a lot of money, all these musicians are exploited by the record labels. And the record labels just want to position them, market them as though they're rich. Doesn't mean they're actually rich. Somebody like him selling his collection for $100 million, that tells me that he must have been running out of funds in terms of his lifestyle that he wants for himself and that he's used to. He's probably run out of funds and he just needed a top up, right? A good amount of money to settle him for the rest of his life. And from that perspective, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But on this channel, I'm definitely not just talking about money for your lifetime. I'm talking about generational wealth multiple times over. Because here's the thing, the reason why this is the biggest mistake. He has something that most musicians especially, don't have. And that's fame. A-list celebridom. I mean, he's not as famous as he was, but he's still an A-lister. He's still looked at as an A-lister, right? Yes, he's tried to make music again and it hasn't been successful, but that was his fault. Why did he drop out of music for so long? The game has completely changed, and now I guess he tried to make music. Some of it was successful, some of it wasn't. Some of it was just ignored completely. And maybe he's just kind of like, look, I'm tired of this music thing. I've been doing it all of my life. Literally, I'm exhausted. He's been slaving away for all his life, only to get, when he was working with NSYNC, get pennies. Then when he went solo, who knows how much he made, but it's probably not as much as you think. And somebody comes here, with a crazy paycheck and says, $100 million, here you go. And you don't have to do anything. You can continue to sleep all day and relax for the rest of your life. It makes sense. Why not? But okay, I've talked about that. Let me now break down why this was the biggest mistake that he has ever made. And anyone could make, right? He has something that nobody else has. I don't want to say nobody else. Most musicians, most entertainers don't have, which is A-list celebridom. That in itself gives him immense advantage as we step into Web3. Now, maybe he doesn't want to work anymore. I don't understand that idea of not wanting to work anymore. And I get it. He's worked all his life. But he's only 41. He's not that old to be retiring. And my point is we don't know the opportunities that Web3 are going to bring. We don't know the opportunities Web3 is going to come with. We don't know the opportunities for monetization in Web3. We don't know if YouTube is going to start doing something, or even Web2 platforms like YouTube, Instagram, create a system that makes musicians monetize their music in new ways. There's a lot of money that's set to come out of music, and when we think about NFTs and we think about all those things, all of these musicians have an advantage because they have especially traditional musicians, they have superstardom. And that is the most valuable thing moving into Web3. That's what all these YouTubers are trying to gain. That's superstardom. Because that superstardom allows you to monetize in different ways. And if you own your music, you can apply it in unique ways to enhance your monetization by 10x or more. So my point is, we don't know the potential. That's why they jumped at the chance to take this, catalog for $100 million, because they were 200 songs for $100 million. Wow, this is a win. 200 songs from one of the biggest musicians of the modern era. I'll put it that way. One of the biggest musicians of the modern era. 200 songs. Co-written, written, and some of his biggest hits, some of his latest hits too, Can't Stop the Feeling, Mirrors, is it Mirrors or Mirror? And he sold it for $100 million. It's just, to me, I'm just why would you do that? Musicians are fighting for their masters, and you're giving yours away for $100 million. Musicians are fighting to buy their masters back for $100, $200 million. They're fighting to buy it back, and you're selling yours for $100 million. I mean, the only thing that tells me here is that he must be broke. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he's not working the way he was. We don't see him in a lot of stuff. We don't see him. I don't remember the last time I saw him in a movie. I definitely don't remember the last time I heard music from him. So can't imagine that he's touring either. He's just never been known to be somebody that when he's not releasing an album, a smash hit album, he kind of seems like someone that just literally does not do anything. And I'm sure it can get comfortable like that. But the fact that you're going to sell your whole catalog for $100 million, I'm just so shocked and so disappointed, because this is the way that everybody's moving away from, and you go right into it. Now, we don't know anyone's situation, you don't know anyone's circumstance and why they need to do whatever they do, but I've read this CNN article, and this is what a lot of older musicians are doing. He's definitely one of the younger ones to have done this. One of the younger superstars to have done this. It's young people like the Chainsmokers, young people that weren't superstars, but they had hit records. They've done this. They sold this to this company, Hypnosis. So they've done this. But for Justin Timberlake, you have to understand, he has iconic status. And for him to sell this is just Justin Bieber. Imagine a Justin Bieber. I don't think Justin owned his masters, But imagine he did own his masters, and in like say he stopped making music for 10 years, and then he decides that he's going to sell his all his catalog for $100 million. This is the equivalent, because Justin Timberlake was as big as Justin Bieber is today. That's how big he was. I mean, he was huge. And for him to sell for just $100 million, like, oh my God, why are you doing this? People are trying to buy their catalogs for more. I think Taylor Swift's catalog sold for $300 million, something crazy like that. Well, it was the whole record label, but we know a big chunk of that was Taylor's music. Oh man, I just don't even know how to even address this. But the only reason to me is that he needs the money. So that's the only thing that makes sense. He must need the money to maintain his lifestyle. But I just think that, like, why not find new ways to make money and keep ownership of something as powerful as your catalog, so that in the future, whatever happens with Web3, you can generate immense income. And let's not even forget the present day and how much money you can make from your catalog in today's era, from like music licensing, from syndication, there's so many different ways that music is still monetized. And yes, maybe you won't get the whole, chunk of money up front, but that's the point. You'll get it over time, but you're still going to get it. But basically what's happened here is, how like musicians always get royalty checks and always get all this stuff? He's not going to get any of that. This $100 million is one-time payment. I'm sure he'll get royalties for his music, for his movies and stuff, but not his music. No more royalty checks just coming in randomly. Wow. And I know some people like to get a lump sum. They don't want to have small increments coming in. And this another very important point is that some people are entrepreneurial and some people are just not. And I think with the case of Justin Timberlake, like thinking about somebody with a employee mindset, I think it's like musicians are treated worse than employees. So I would compare it more so to like a slave. Like if you're a slave and what's it called? Stockholm syndrome, right? It's kind of like they're just used to being abused so much. We know his manager abused him when he was in sync. When I say abuse, I mean financial abuse. We know they were exploited. Who knows how badly he was exploited as a solo artist. And so he's probably has like Stockholm syndrome, and he's kind of like, well, okay. All right then. Let me just go back in this cave. Why are you trying to free me? Why do I have my catalog? Why? Well, this gives me too much opportunity. I'm afraid of this opportunity. Just give me a check and let me go back in my prison. This is what I'm seeing, because that's the only explanation. Because I don't understand how you have ownership of your music and you're gonna sell it off. And here's the thing that gets to me about the media and the poor financial literacy that is promoted in media and entertainment. All these platforms are saying, wow, congratulations, 100 million. Congratulations, Justin Timberlake. Clap, clap, clap. It's the same way they clap for people when they get record deals. And I've talked about this so many times on this platform. When you sign a record deal, they're giving you, say, $300,000. If you're a superstar, or if you're like a really poppin' online, you have a big following online, maybe they'll give you 10 million, right? But that $10 million is, they own your masters, they own you, they own when you can and can't release your music, they control your life. That is what you're selling away, your freedom and your ownership. And you're selling it away for like 20 plus years. Right? And so that's why even at that, I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. But it's like Justin Timberlake has what all of these musicians want. He has the superstardom. He has the clout. He has the respect. He has all the things. He just has to reach out and apply himself to make far more than that $100 million. Just be patient. The money's going to come in. But just be patient. But he doesn't want to. He just wants the fat check now. And you're only 41? I just hope that he invests his money wisely, this $100 million, because I feel like it's the last big check he's going to see. And it's so sad to me because we're hearing about what people like Drake are doing, getting $400 million. Yes, Drake is at the height of his career right now. Yes, Drake, you know, I made a whole video about Drake's record deal, why it was essential for them to convince Drake to keep that deal, even though I still see the scam in that deal, because you're giving him $400 million when his catalog is worth $2-3 billion. And that's my thing with Justin Timberlake. If Justin Timberlake wanted to apply himself, which he clearly doesn't, he clearly just wants to retire. But if he wanted to apply himself, so he could do songs with Drake and Rihanna, or maybe not Rihanna because she seems to be retired, but he could do songs with like superstars and regain his relevance and superstardom, just like Kanye West is doing. Because Kanye West and Justin Timberlake are of the same era, but we're all talking about Kanye because Kanye has repurposed his fame and continued his fame to the modern era. And not only does he have ownership of his music, he also has ownership of his record, his clothing line, and he's a billionaire. And it's not about comparing people. I'm just trying to let people see the opportunity in what they have. And I feel like Justin Timberlake is thinking small. He's just thinking really small. He does have a family. He needs to provide for his family, but I feel like there are other ways that he could have gotten a livable chunk of money. You know, how much does it really take to live? You could, $10 million, if we're even being generous, $10 million every like 5 years, if we're being generous, right? So you could have gotten that money from a movie role. You could have gotten that money from so many ways, repurposing your fame, making yourself relevant again. I don't think he wants to get in the game anymore. I think he genuinely wants to retire. I understand that they were worn out. They were used and abused, especially in those 90s, that 90s era of entertainment. They used and abused them. And now he's just like, I am done. But I just think $100 million is a low number. And I don't know if I finished my point earlier about the media and how they're promoting this, like, wow, congratulations. It's how they keep people in the prison mindset. They convince you in the media that that's the good decision to make, to choose to be paid out for what you've done. They choose to they position it that way, and that's how, because who controls the media is these companies. They control the media. They want to push that narrative. It's a good thing to get a record deal. It's a good thing to get paid out. You know, it's a good thing to retire at a certain age. They push that mentality to push you into a consumer mindset, to push you into a mindset of the average person and not the 1%. And any 1% person can see that this was the biggest mistake he ever made, to the extent that even the people who bought it were probably like, wow, we won big here. And yeah, it took a year to negotiate the deal, because $100 million is a lot of money to put together. How were they able to get that money too? You know, they're buying out so many people's record licenses or whatever. They're buying everyone's catalog. They're building a crazy catalog for themselves. That's the company that's going to be insanely rich, because the catalogs that they own is insane. But ultimately, it's a big L if you ask any sort of person that's thinking about generational wealth. You know, right now, $100 million is generational wealth, but it's not super wealthy. Like, that kind of money can run out in 1 or 2 generations. But if we're talking about $1 billion, you can create a real legacy with that. You can really invest into things that will change the world. But I always have to remember that not everyone wants to change the world. Not everyone wants to create legacy. And some people just want to live out their life and chill. And understanding the fact that Justin Timberlake is a white man, he's not black, that he doesn't have anything to prove, because he's come from generations, at least white people have had generations of sort of like systems that support them to remain wealthy. And black people haven't. That's why we're pushing for ownership. That's why we're pushing for these narratives. But one thing that Justin Timberlake needs to realize is that that is not always going to be the case, and that can change. especially because every other race is pushing for ownership and all those things, and pushing for reparations from colonizers. And so now Justin Timberlake, he's going to be good. His kid is probably going to be good. But his children's children could easily go back into, poverty even. Depending, you see, what there's a saying, one generation makes the money, the other generation spends the money, and the third generation is screwed up. Or, yeah, something like that. But long story short, I just feel like when I see somebody with an opportunity, just apply patience and you can go so much further. But it seems like he just wanted it fast. I mean, I get it. He, after all the hard blood, sweat, and tears he's put into his music career, and it hasn't reaped the benefits that he deserves, $100 million makes sense. But not when your music is actually worth $1 billion. And I believe that over the course of, say, 60 years, which is beyond his lifetime, his music is easily worth $1 billion. We have to think, because things become free, royalty free after 100 years. So his family could have lived out the licensing of that for generations. He has iconic music. So and you never know what goes viral, what music is going to go viral at what point. And we don't know the infrastructure of the internet in the next 20 plus years, and what opportunities are going to come with money and with music and monetizing music. And especially when it's music like his that came from a time before the internet. So I just think that when people sell their catalog, it's just like, it's good for the companies that are buying it, fantastic. But for the artists, it's like, because gone are the days where we believe that artists are no longer business people. We are in a Web3 world. And as an artist, you have to be a business person. You have to. So you have to have that brain available and on if you are going to thrive in Web3. We are Homo sapiens, which means wise man. And part of evolution is that we get more intelligent each generation. We learn how to multitask better each generation. And now that we have AI and computers to support us in those movements and those missions, it makes absolutely no sense why somebody can't be a business person and an artist at the same time and apply both brains and make both work. Because the business part is about survival and ensuring that you're not exploited, as people were in the Industrial Revolution or Industrial Era in the 90s, which was the end of the Industrial Era. We're in a digital era. We are in the information era. And now it is so important that we have ownership, that we understand the business. That is the basic level of survival. Understanding the business and moving from a business mindset, especially as an artist. So, yes, he's done a good job. He's ready to retire. He's out with it. Good on him. But I hope that this does not inspire anyone else to think that they're going to become successful artists so people can buy them out. And if you want to be that person, I hope that I'll be able to buy you out so I can own, and my children and my great grandchildren can make money off of your art. Anyway, wow. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. My name is Kenim. You're watching Brand Video Pro, and see you next time. Peace.